Hi everybody, it's Jean here. Good morning. And this is Jean's Block Party 2019. And this week we are doing blocks number 9 and 10. Do you believe it? It's just been really fabulous. People have been sending me, about 15 or 20 people have sent me all of their 8 photographs of their 8 blocks so far. So again, about every 8 blocks, it makes it easier for me. And we can almost see like a whole quilt evolving as opposed to one block at a time. Fantastic. So send them to me at truelovequiltsforyou@gmail.com. All your blocks, if you haven't caught up, I'll give you time to catch up. So block number 9 this week is this block here. Now don't be frightened because I used a stripe fabric. You know me and my stripes. I love my stripes. Gotta love my stripes. And as I was saying last week, I wanted to be able to have some patterns that I could use my stripes. This is a simple square within a square pattern. And then just the outside, a 9 patch. Simple, simple. But I made it very effective. I made it very effective with this wide stripe fabric that I sort of had to fussy cut. Fussy cutting is isolating an image, whether it be a flower, a butterfly, a little dog, or a pattern within your fabric piece that you isolate and then you cut the image. In this case, it was just my stripes, but I had to think about it. But you don't have to do that. All this is 2 fabrics. It's just the dark and this rectangle here. But I'm teaching you how to construct your square within your square. So just 2 fabrics, a 9 patch, just a few little points to match if you got your 1/4 inch seam down. So that is number 9. That is number 9, and I will show you, even though it's in the next video, I will show you number 10, spoiler alert, which is this block here. So this block here, again, a simple 9 patch, excuse me, but it's made, this block is called a, if you put them all together, if you had all of the same block together, this is called an Irish chain. And as you can see, the dark would make a chain, X's across. Very old-fashioned pattern, an old-fashioned block. But what is it? A block of high contrast. You're going to need high contrast for this. Now, it doesn't matter if perhaps if you're using scraps and you're doing a scrappy quilt, which quite a few of you are. Delightful, lovely. Make sure you have a neutral. It doesn't have to be white, whatever your neutral color is, so you have a high contrast from if you're using scraps. I'm choosing to just do red and white. I've pulled my white from my yardage this week. Just a few, you know, I give you the cutting instructions again. Oh, I don't know if you've noticed, instead of having the black lines on the top of my computer, my screen, I figured out, or one of my kids figured out, how I have the whole screen. But that means I have to put the writing on top of me. I have to put the writing on top of me or my image. But we finally figured it out. My kids were like, "That is so annoying, Mom. Why is that black?" And but they weren't helping me. I'm like, I don't know what to do. It's on my other little computer again. As I said, I have my hot computer set up here with an editing program that I'm not quite sure about. So my tried and true computer, which is in my dining room, I do my editing on, and it was just a matter of clicking a button. I've been doing it for like a year and a half now, and I didn't have a clue. So anyway, that's why you see me in full screen now. If that's how you're viewing me, I don't know how you're viewing me. Anyway, this is our block number 10. I was thinking that we're like a 1/4 way through. I've just sort of started this, but doing 2 blocks a week. I wanted to ask you, is it too much? Or is it too little? Well, I'm not doing any more. And so maybe, you know, hopefully you can keep up. Again, very, very simple beginner blocks, but I put all of mine together. Oh, I'm so pleased. I'm having a red and white quilt. I tell you later on in the tutorial that my fat quarters and layer cakes that I'm using, the one is maroon and tans, and the other one is bright red and bright white. So each week I've sort of fallen into this thing. This is just personal for me. Each week I'm going to do this week is the bright red and bright white. Next week I'll do the maroon and the tan, or the cream. And then that way I can alternate my blocks, so I have a lot more texture and a lot more depth to my red and white quilt. That's how it's just worked out. So yeah, so this is our block this week, block number 9. I wanted to show you that it turns out 9.5 inches unfinished. It was beautiful. I think I had to trim this up slightly, this one. And again, do not be fooled by my stripes. It's just 2 colors, a square within a square. It's a new technique. We're drawing a line, but we're sewing right on the line. And I explain that to you. Again, simple 9 patch. So yeah, I'll just put this one up, and then I'll do a small introduction to block number 10. And then, yeah, we'll have at it. So this is block number 9 of our block party. I hope you're enjoying it, folks. Again, send me your pictures. Thanks a lot. See ya. So we are on block number 9 that you've seen, but I'm making right now. I'm making this block from fat quarters, and I'm, for lack of better, which I haven't done in the other previous weeks, I'm marking these fabric A and fabric B if it's 1 and 2 fabrics, or fabric A, B, C if I'm using 3 fabrics, so you get that a little bit better. I'm using a fat quarter. Now, I wanted to use my stripe. You know me, I'm a stripe person. I love using my stripes. So what I did is, with this striped fabric, I'm just keeping it here because I just neatened up this edge here. What I did is I took my ruler, let me just come over here and I'll show you. I took a 5.5 inch, no, 6-inch ruler. I have a 6-inch ruler here. And I wanted what we want to cut. Now this is what I've done. Let me just see if you can see that. Yeah, I've cut out of fabric A from my square and a square block. I've cut 1 5-inch square. Well, I wanted to utilize my stripe, but remember I was saying my stripes, they get all wonky, and you know, you never know how they show up. But I was thinking beforehand, well, I could have a stripe fabric that looks like this, because it's my square. Instead of being this way, a square and a square goes this way, and it makes a square, and then bordered. So what I did, if you can see that, if you want to use a stripe, I put my square, I put my my ruler, I put it how my fabric would have been, how my square would have been cut out. Do you see that? I did trim this down, so do you see that? I put the diagonal, because the square on this, in this case, is more of a diamond. You got that? So I just centered my ruler on this diagonal here on my stripe. I just centered that on my stripe, and I then cut out a 6-inch square here, or a 5-inch square. What is this, a 6-inch square? Yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6-inch square. But then I just cut it down. Okay, I just cut it down to 5 inches. You can see that? Yeah, I just cut it down to 5 inches. But I'm now assured that my square in a square is going to have this lovely diamond stripe shape. So I'm thrilled about that. This is fabric A. What I'm saying is cut 1 5-inch square. If you want to fussy cut it, which basically I've done, you can mess about, jiggery poker it, and try to cut with some kind of ruler. You can use your larger ruler, making a 5-inch square. So this is what I've done. Here's my 5 inches by my 5 inches, and there is my 5-inch square that I just happened to cut like that. So I've out of fabric A, which I've shown here, I've cut my 1 5-inch square. Now I have to cut 4 2 3/4 inch by 5-inch rectangles. Now last week I had done all my cutting, but this week I'm going to show you, I've cut out my fabric B, but for now I'm going to show you what I'm doing using a fat quarter to cut out these 4 2 3/4 by 5-inch rectangles. Now again, I'm using my ruler. I'm going to be using my my Fiskars ruler. I've already neatened up that edge. And let me do it with this. Let me do it with my 9.5 inch ruler here. We want to cut 4 2 3/4 inch by 5 inch rectangles. So I'm going to find on my ruler my 2 3/4 inch mark. Now 2 3/4 inches. Again, I hope you don't think I'm treating you like idiots, but some of you may not realize the 2 3/4 inches is not the first line before the 3. That's 7/8. Remember, it's the second. It's the big line. So you have 2 1/4, 2 1/2, 2 3/4. Okay, it's 2 lines before the 3. 2 3/4. So with my Fiskars ruler here, or with your ruler, this edge, this 20-inch edge, or the 22-inch edge, that's what I'm using. I'm finding my, see if that's in the frame, yeah, I'm finding my 2 3/4 inch line here, along the outside. There's my 2 3/4 inch, there, just make that, and there's my 2 3/4 inch, and I'm going to butt my ruler up. Remember, we do the 2 ruler method, or however you want to cut. And then I love this ruler because especially with this stripe, I can see that my lines are perfect. And so this is perfectly straight. And then I line that 2 3/4 up perfectly, up there, down here, and it's perfect. Now again, I can hold my ruler here, and I can just slice that right up. And there's my piece there. Oh, somebody did mention, and I want to thank them. Who was it? Where's that notation? That I forget who mentioned it, but thank you ever so much, viewer, who mentioned it to me. With a regular ruler, if you're having trouble with your ruler slipping, you can get probably at a sewing machine shop, or at Joann Fabrics, or even at a hardware store, you can get little like sandpaper dots, and you can glue them onto a ruler, so it becomes a real non-slip surface for your rulers. Thank you ever so much, whoever that was who suggested that. Because a lot of people are like, oh, my ruler is slipping. So that's just a little handy hint. I'm real careful with this one, it doesn't slip. So now what we have here, we have this long piece of fabric right here. So what I'm going to be doing, again, this is fabric A. I want 4 2 3/4 by 5 inch. Now I'm using a stripe. So my stripe, I'm going to take a little bit careful where my stripes are going to end up. So there's my 5 inches. But I'm going to sort of, again, for me, you don't have to do this. I want all my stripes to be in the same space, in the same place. So there's my 5 inches. Now that is pretty good. So I'm going to have 3 stripes. Can you see that? Hopefully, yeah. You can, again, you're just cutting 2 3/4 inch by 5 inch. I just want to make my stripes sort of pop out on this block here. So there's my 5 inch right there. There's my 2 3/4. It's perfect. I've lined this up nicely. Let me just line it up perfectly on that line. There's my 5 inch, so I have a little bit of white, red, and then I can just slice that off. So there's one. Now I'm going to come up here, and it's pretty good. Yeah, that's pretty good. Look at that, how that's worked out. That's pretty good. That's not quite centered, but that's absolutely fine. A little bit of white. Now that will be taken up with this, with the seam. That's fine. It's good. So there it is. 1, 2. Just so they're the same. Now that one, the seam will be off. So I'm just going to straighten this up. There we go. That seems a little bit wider. I'll do my 5 inches. Find my 5. Just so you see what I'm doing. I just want white, red, white, red, white, red. But you will obviously just be cutting 5 inch rectangles here. And then that one. That worked out really well. Instead of you know, I'm messing about with it, but you guys don't have to. There's my 5 inches, and there you go. So now I have made a big song and dance of it. I have my fabric A. I've cut that, okay? Now, I'll just put that to the side. Now we just have one more fabric B, which I've already done here for time's sake. Fabric B, you're going to cut 8 2 3/4 inch squares. This is my fabric B. I've already cut my 2 3/4 inch squares. Then when you cut your 2 3/4 inch squares, you are going to mark the back of your square, like we've done before. You are going to mark from a diagonal, with a diagonal to a diagonal. Oh, I hope this isn't too dark. Somebody said, oh, it's always too dark. I'm sorry about that. It's all the light I have. Yeah, you're going to mark from the diagonal to the diagonal. I'm going to go over to my sewing machine and I'll show you after you mark your 8 2 3/4 inch squares out of your fabric B, and then I'll show you what we're going to do. I have done, actually I forgot, you only had to mark 4 of these, but whatever, I marked 8 of them, I completely forgot. So what we're going to do now to create our square in a square, what we're going to do is we're going to put, as you can see, on one side of our square, on the diamond side, you know, the side of one side of the square, each side, you're going to put your marked edge from the center to the center. Don't do it this way, don't do it corner to center. You're wanting to do it from the center of your block to the center of your square. Now, remember how we always stitched a 1/4 inch away from the mark line? This time, we're going to have that nice and square. Really lovely and square. This square on the corner here, lovely square. I put a pin in there. You're going to be sewing not like one thread away from that line. A lot of people say sew on the line. And what our purpose is here, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be sewing right there, and we're going to be wanting to make that unit right there. We're going to make that corner out of this solid. Okay, so for just to keep in mind the turning of the fibers of the fabric, I just do literally 1 thread or 2 threads away from that marked line. Basically, you're sewing on the line, but just right next to that line. Tiny, tiny. Go slow. And right off. So as if you can see that. So now I go to turn it, and there is a beautiful corner. Beautiful corner. We are going to trim this at 1/4 inch. So we don't have all that bulk. And we have a corner. I'm going to do the exact same thing. Keeping this real nice and square. Just a hair inside that marked line. Go slow. It's not a marathon. Pull out. Make sure before you trim that you have a nice square corner. Lovely square corner. See? Lovely square corner. And then trim. If you want to save these bits for something, by all means. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to finger press that. It's on the bias, so just be careful. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take my 2 more. I'm going to do the exact same thing. Actually, what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn around here. My iron, I've just set up right behind. I'm going to set that seam. You can't see, but I've set that seam. I've rolled it up. And I've made 2 lovely corners, okay? Set my seam. So you should do that, because now on the other 2 corners, from the center to the center, you're going to take you're going to take 2 more, center to center. You're going to pin it on the inside here, center to center. So your line should be going the exact same way. We're creating our square within our square. So again, you're going to be right on the 1 thread inside the marked line, just to allow for the turn of those fibers, and right off. And you will see when you're done, when you've perfected your 1/4 inch seam, how you have a 1/4 inch seam there and there. So when we go to sew this to our other units, we have a perfect point right there. So you've turned it. I'm going to trim that. I'm going to sew my other one. Center, make sure it's in the center, not corner to corner, center to center. Right on the inside of that seam, 1 thread. And right off. Check it. Perfect corner. And there, oh look, I love it. I think it's so pretty. There's my square and a square using my striped fabric. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over and set these 2 seams, and I'm going to go roll over that, and I have a perfect, lovely square, and then I'll go from there. So I've created my square in a square with a lovely, I like it, it's skewed, I like it because it's interesting, it's not on the vertical, I love that. So there is my square in a square. You obviously won't have stripes, you'll just have a lovely square, whatever your the pattern is. Now I'm going to put my block together. And what is it? It's basically, yes, it's basically a 9 patch. So I have my lovely stripes, which are all the same, and they're just going to go like this. They're going to go, for me, I'm using stripes. So it makes a nice, it makes a lot of lovely movement. And then my 4 corners, I'm going to do like that. And there, folks, is my square and a square. See what that looks like. Yeah. Oh, that's so pretty. I like my stripes because there has lots of movement. Now this is a 9 patch. You've done this before. I'm going to just go over, and I'm going to finish my block. You have done this. You are going to take this pretty side over there, pretty side to that one. You're going to do this one. You're going to do that one. You're going to do all 3 units. Okay. Being careful when you come here to find that 1/4 inch. You see that 1/4 inch there? You're going to be very careful when you're sewing the seams here that you don't cut off, so you can see that point right there. You can see your point. So you're going to sew your 5-inch square, your 5-inch rectangles here and over here. 3 units you're going to make, right? And then we're going to sew. We're going to have a 9 patch. You're going to end up with this lovely unit, and then you're just going to pull it down there, and you're going to sew this seam and that seam, and our block will be done. I will be back. So here are my 3 units sewn together, just like a traditional 9 patch, which we're going to nest these seams here. But I just wanted to tell you, when I went over to my ironing board, just a little thing. Remember I always say press to the dark side? Well, this unit here was telling me when I went to go press this, that because of these, all of these seams here, all of this seams here, that my fabric wanted to go out. And usually I like to press this unit in, but I was dictated by this fabric, this unit laying nice and flat. So when you're doing a 9 patch, remember you want to press your seams alternating. So this unit here, I didn't want to press that there because it makes no sense. I wanted to press that nice and flat. Remember, your back wants to look pretty nice also. So that means with these seams pressed out, I wanted to press my top and my bottom seams in. So when I go to nest these seams here, this seam here and this seam here, that they will nest beautifully. So I'm going to do that now. I'm going to match these seams here, and be careful with my 1/4 inch seam that I don't cut that point off. If you do, don't worry about it. And then I'm going to do the exact same thing here. Bring this unit up and nest this seam and that seam, and then my block will be finished. So here is my finished block. And I really like it because my stripes turned out really quite lovely. Now, it might look a little bit complicated because I did the stripes. You're not going to make this as complicated as I just did. You're just going to do a nice your pattern, your 2 fabrics here, whatever you choose to be on your square and your corners, and then your rectangles. I made it a little bit more complicated, and you're probably thinking, oh my goodness, but that's because I sort of almost was what is called fussy cutting, which is doing cutting my fabric exactly like I wanted it to be, and it turned out beautiful for me. But don't worry about fussy cut. Oh, let me just see if it's this one. Let me just see if it works here. I matched my seams. There's my point, my nice 1/4 inch seam there. By miracle, my stripes turned up really good. Just a little bit of forethought. Oh, it's a little bit big. Okay, I'm going to square this up. Here's my 9.5 inch roll, and it's pretty good there and there. It's just a little sliver over here, like that. Close my rotary cutter, and then come over on this side. That side's nice. Just a slight hair over here. Just a slight little sliver there. Again, this just, when you're squaring up theirs, and then there's just a little tiny sliver over on this side here. So there is my perfect, lovely square. I love it. Square within a square. So that is block number 9. And now we're on to block number 10. I hope you enjoyed that, folks.